Today, we have a sticky situation on our hands. I am so sorry, even I cringed at that one. Hey guys, MasakoX here. Now, cast your mind back to a few months ago. Remember the time we first saw that promotional poster for the new Broly movie, back when we had no idea what it was about? Well, one of the most welcome things about that poster was the reintroduction of a certain little tool that Goku had been using for the longest time, but then not been using for the longest time. On this poster, we could see an item that hadn't been seen since Goku said goodbye to everyone at the end of GT. Something that was just suddenly there and was like, wait, what? He has it still? I'm talking, of course, about the Power Pole, or the Nyoibo, whatever's your poison. And no, the Power Pole isn't our new nickname for Haverok, a new kind of Polish superhero. You get it? Because Haverok's Polish. Hey, don't look at me, Haverok came up with that one. You can bug him on Twitter for that. The Power Pole, more commonly known as the Nyoibo or the Compliant Pole, or the stick that bends to one's will, or in the big green dub, Magic Stick, because that is the coolest name out of all four. It's a magical staff that can change shape and size to the master's will. It was gifted to Goku by Grandpa Gohan, who in turn originally got it from Master Roshi. Having said that though, Master Roshi originally got that from Korin, because Korin had a really bad scratching post addiction, and anything that looked like a pole, it just had to be gotten rid of because he's a cat. Okay, I made that last part up. Although we've seen Goku use it primarily as a weapon, its original purpose was not to be used as a weapon. It was more like a tool, a means of access if you like. Let's say you somehow got up to Korin's tower, and you wanted to go and try and find enlightenment up in the heavens. If you were deemed worthy, Korin would give you the Nyoibo, and therefore say, hey kid, you wanna go up and talk to Kami, the guardian of Earth? Use that thing, extend it up to the top, and you can connect to the lookout, but you gotta climb it. That's pretty much what happens in Dragon Ball, how Goku originally got up to the lookout. You know, before the days of flying. In reality, it's actually one of the most blatant references from the biggest source material for Dragon Ball, Journey to the West. You know, the book that's basically the blueprint for the entirety of Dragon Ball, and pretty much everything that you've seen from Toriyama since 1984. The Power Pole is directly lifted from the Rui Jingubang, or the Nyoi Kinkubo, which, if you can tell from the name, sounds very similar to a Nyoibo. And it gets even more similar because that pole is meant to be compliant with the Master's wishes. It was one of the most precious possessions of the Monkey King Son Wukong. Again, the character that was the biggest inspiration for Son Goku. And that item itself appeared in the 3rd chapter of Journey to the West, and has been around Son Wukong ever since. In this chapter, the aforementioned Son Wukong traveled to see Ao Goang, the Dragon King of the East Sea. And don't think Son Wukong's making like a social call or anything, or just trying to be nice. He's doing it for far more egocentric and selfish reasons. He's not trying to attack the guy or anything. He's basically just wanting to try and find a weapon that suits his ego and his persona, and will generally just make him look awesome. And while you're at it, something that can match his strength and skill. Actually, now that I think about it, it kind of reminds me of Goku a lot. No wonder the two are really, really similar. Yeah, both want to try and find the strongest thing, be it animal or mineral, and actually exhibit very selfish tendencies. In any case, Son Wukong does end up getting the compliant pole and then goes off to find more quests. Based on those terms of weapons, I think Son Wukong could also really get on with future Trunks because, you know, them guys really love their weapons. Prior to acquiring the Rui Jingubang, Ao Goang's offerings to Son Wukong were deemed unfit for purpose. None of them were any good. So basically, trying to find ideas, Ao Goang just went like, I don't know, there's this kind of weird iron pillar thing here. I mean, it's kind of junk, but that's all we have now. Now you think based off his prior behaviour that Son Wukong would really find this insulting, but no, he took it. He rolled with the iron pillar. It became his signature weapon, somehow. I can just imagine Ao Goang's face right then. It's just like, seriously? But what? But then Ao Goang put a brave face on it and just rolled along with the punches as well and just said, this actually, before you say, this iron pillar exhibited some very strange heavenly lights prior to your visit, so it might actually show more potential if you were to have it. It was destiny that brought you two together. Yeah, that's what it was. Its actual intended purpose was actually to measure flood damage and actual water flow during ancient times, so it was kind of just like a big measuring stick. The Wikipedia entry for the Rui Jingaban goes into it in more detail. The staff is initially described as a pillar of black iron 20 feet in height and the width of a barrel. It is only when Monkey lifts it and suggests that a smaller size would be more manageable that the staff complies with his wishes and shrinks. This is when Sun sees the weapon is banded with a gold ring on each end, as well as the inscription along the body reading, "The compliant golden hooped rod." The weight? 13,500 catties. The inscription indicates that the staff follows the commands of its owner and shrinking or growing to his whim, make copies of itself, and that it is immensely heavy, weighing 17,550 pounds, or 7,960 kilograms. When not in use, Monkey shrinks it down to the size of a needle and keeps it tucked behind his ear. Well, I really would like to see Goku try and lift an absolutely huge pillar. As you can see, there are some subtle differences between that and Dragon Ball, especially the weight. I mean, we all know Goku's pretty strong, even as a kid, but just to lug around an 8-ton pole with you at all times? That just seems a little bit unnecessary. I think even adult Goku would have a hard time trying to actually hurl around an 8-ton object with really good acrobatic maneuvers. Still, whatever comes of it, that pole is very iconic to Goku and his counterpart. Both it and Goku were pretty much inseparable, much like how Goku and the Quinto one, or the Flying Nimbus, were pretty inseparable. Those two items were vital pieces of equipment for Goku in his formative years. They were pretty much the Trinity. However, when Dragon Ball then started to move on and go into the next part of the story, Dragon Ball Z, both of the items slowly fell out of favour and were used hardly as often. Some notable examples, of course, were in the first two movies, Dead Zone and The World's Strongest. After that, though, they were barely used. I mean, sometimes the Flying Nimbus was used, but the Power Pole? You barely saw it. When musing for ideas of this video, we were having a real hard time trying to explore the relationship between Goku and the Power Pole, trying to find a good way to articulate that. Haverok and I did float the idea of posing it as a question as like a what if. What if Goku used the Power Pole more? Like, throughout Dragon Ball Z? Would it make any difference? In fact, this very script was intended to be a supposition for a what if, but quickly into the production we thought, there's really not much to go on in terms of a traditional script. As much as it would have been an intriguing thought experiment, really, in terms of a story or a narrative, there really is not that much difference, nor would it actually be that compelling or exciting. It would just be a thing that Goku would try to use and it would get flicked away because it was pretty much useless when you got characters who could fly, or dodge it, or essentially break it into several pieces. I mean, I guess the thing you could really do is just use it to try and send Perfect Cell or Majin Buu to the moon. Those characters, I think, can breathe in space, and also they could instantly just fly back, and it would just be completely meaningless. It worked for Monster Carrot because he couldn't fly, but other characters in Z, yeah, that punishment isn't really effective. But hey, I mean, it's inevitable, really. Dragon Ball Z was just that massive a tonal shift. Back in Dragon Ball, it was all about adventure. Everything was all about simple martial arts, and having a power pole, much like having like a kendo stick or any other kind of martial arts weapon, was pretty much realistic. You could actually believe Goku using it, and using it to great effect against mostly human guards or some basically heightened martial artists. It would also be really useful for making a quick getaway, or just trying to reach some really inaccessible places, back before you could fly. So instead of actually just coming up with a traditional what if, Haverok and I thought about ways that you can actually incorporate the power pole into some really good and very useful fighting techniques or combos. Something that Goku could use in modern Dragon Ball, other than just using the pole as some kind of window dressing. And we're not just talking about just going with the pole, ooh, I got a stick! I'm talking about things that would incorporate the traditional Dragon Ball Z method of flying and screaming and waving your pole around. Phrasing. As often is the case, the best way to find inspiration for this kind of stuff is to look to the video games. The video games are perfect places to test out really unorthodox and unusual moves. Did you know the final Kamehameha had its debut in a video game? We then saw it in Dragon Ball Super. So I think that might be the first time that we saw a game attack go into an anime and not the other way around. Not only that, but you then get ridiculously long named attacks, which you then find in one of our favourite Dragon Ball sandboxes and experimental arenas, Xenoverse 1 and 2. In these games, our character, the future warrior or the time patroller, can utilize a thing known as the power pole combo. This allows the user to perform a combo using the power pole in its arsenal up to 7 times in a row. By using clever combinations of punches and kicks and then just slamming your opponent with a pole, you can really make a compelling attack, which can really just cause a lot of damage, as well as generating a lot of visual flourish, which is what Dragon Ball's all about. When you combine all of that with the flying prowess and speed of modern day Dragon Ball, the power pole, if you hurl it at a certain velocity, could actually cause a lot of damage. Because, you know, a tiny little pebble going at 17,000 miles an hour can puncture a hole in material that is inches thick. Okay, picture this. You could be about half a mile away from your target, and you could see him or sense him. You just tell the power pole to extend, and then just go whack like a baseball bat. Your opponent wouldn't know a thing, and when you throw inertia into the equation, I think he'd pretty much done, or at least very, very winded, so then you can make the first effective move. Now try to imagine all of those things when you have Goku going against Frieza, the Galactic Emperor versus a magic stick. I'm pretty sure that would have been a really decent counter to Frieza's tail, as it proved a very big adversary towards Goku. You know, he got really encumbered by the tail, and most of the characters really didn't like Frieza's tail. But then again, simply bashing your opponent around with a very big stick does get boring after a while. It's not exactly the most interesting way of attack if you only use that. Especially like against Perfect Cell or Majin Buu, they can just regenerate their limbs. If you manage to just use inertia and slice them in half, they can just regenerate. Let's return to Future Trunks for a moment. How about a pole of hope? Imagine a power pole which could actually harness ki, as well as keep its magical and elastic properties. You can make sure that you don't only just take the area of attack of a pole, but you could then surround the guy with energy, and it'd be a really effective way of getting close to him by then not getting close to him and just taking him out. It's kind of hard to tell whether the power pole could actually harness and contain a formidable amount of energy that you see in Dragon Ball nowadays. It's hard to say. It would be a really powerful tool, something that Goku would take an interest in once again. However, that might be also a bad thing. Over-reliance on such a tool could actually impact Goku's hand-to-hand combat skills. It will be very troublesome in the Tournament of Power, especially because outside tools are prohibited. At least in theory. I mean, hey, if Pepperoni's cane and shape-shifting ears for some reason are allowed, then why isn't Goku's power pole allowed too? I think the exhibition match would have been really funny, seeing Goku just whip around with a really huge Bergamo, and then just whacking him in the back with the stick, going like, "Can't touch me, can't get mad, can't touch me, can't get mad." The Zenos would have been having a field day. They would have been just rolling in the aisles. But all jokes aside, as much as I would love to see the power pole make a return in the upcoming Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, I believe that it was only used as a publicity stunt, something to showcase the brand new style of Dragon Ball going into 2018-2019. When we actually got to the trailer proper, the power pole was nowhere to be seen. But then again, the trailer, it's only a couple of minutes. Maybe the future has the power pole tucked in there somewhere as a little homage. Maybe we see Goku using it somehow. We don't really know, but come on, I'm nitpicking here. The movie is going to be fantastic. The power pole is just a small little thing. But at the same time, it's kind of a big thing, if you know what I mean. So what do you guys think? Do you have your own ideas for power pole related attacks? Do you think it will actually make a return in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!